Okay, shall we start the class?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Now we are in types of operating systems. In that already we have completed two varieties of operating systems. The first one is a single user operating system. And the next one what we have completed is multi-programming. So let me once again revise the topic for you within a 2 minutes. In a single user operating system, what exactly happened is, for example, this is an operating system. This is a main memory and this is a secondary memory. For example, so what a secondary memory contains? Initially, secondary memory best example is hard disk. So whenever you turn on your machine, the operating system is available in the hard disk. The operating system is available in the hard disk. Whenever you turn on your machine, turn on your computer, automatically the operating system is loaded from secondary memory to main memory. Right? Once the operating system is loaded, so then the system is ready to use. For example, it is loaded from 0 to 512 KB. For example, right? Once the operating system is loaded into the main memory, then the system is ready to use. For example, there are three processes available in the secondary memory: P1, P2, P3. So this is the secondary memory. All programs, applications are available in secondary memory. If not use available, better we need to call it as store. All the applications and the programs are stored in the secondary memory, right? Whenever you want to run a particular program, that particular program need to be loaded from secondary memory to main memory. So for example, if you want to run program 1, so whenever you want to run this program 1, CPU cannot access the secondary memory. So the program 1 need to be loaded from secondary memory to main memory. Right? So as it is a single user operating system, the entire user area, this is called as user area. So the main memory is only divided into two parts. The first part is for operating system. The entire remaining part is for user area and it is a single partition. Only one process is allowed to enter into the main memory. Okay. So automatically, for example, what this process, I will let you know what is the process 1. What you need to do is you need to run this process. That is your first task. And what is your second task? You need to take the printout. You need to take the printout of result. Right? So whenever you want to run the process, so the process need to be loaded from secondary memory to main memory. Once it is available in the main memory, the operating system will allocate this process to CPU. Okay, CPU run your process 1. Okay, after the execution is over, automatically we need to take the help of the printer to take the printout. Okay, whenever printer is printing the result of process 1, the CPU is idle at that time. Is it clear? Why? Because after executing the process, there is no work for the CPU. So CPU is idle, right? So when the CPU is idle, automatically the system performance will be decreased. The system performance will be decreased, right? So the CPU idle time need to be avoided. So in order to avoid this problem, we need to go for the multi-programming. So ఇప్పుడు మనం సిపియుని బిజీగా ఉంచాలనుకోండి, we need to assign one more process to the CPU, but there is no process available in the main memory, right? There is only one process available in the main memory. So that is called as single user operating system. At a time only we can keep one process into the main memory. In order to avoid this problem, we need to switch to the multi-programming. So what is multi-programming? Multi-programming main aim is to keep the CPU busy. How can we keep the CPU busy? By keeping multiple process in main memory. Right? So as I told you earlier, so this is the secondary memory. And next here we have a P1, P2 and P3 are available in secondary memory. Available in secondary memory, and this is main memory. This is a secondary memory and this is main memory. So initially the first portion is occupied by the operating system, and all the remaining portion here is divided into partitions. Earlier in the single user operating system, the operating system is divided into only two parts. One part is for OS and the remaining entire part is for user. Only one partition. But in the case of multi-programming, the main memory is divided into blocks. Okay. So whenever you want to run the process 1, it needs to be loaded from secondary memory to main memory. So P1 is now loaded to the main memory. Okay. So what is the task? What is the problem? I already told you we need to run P1 and we need to print result. That is our task. Print the result. That is our task. Right? So whenever the P1 is available in the main memory, so that we can assign it to the CPU for execution. Okay. After execution, the result will be printed by the printer. So at that time, so what happened earlier? The CPU is idle. But now what will we do? So we keep the processor 2 into the main memory, so that the CPU will be assigned P2. So at the time of taking the printout, of process 1, the CPU is allocated to P2. Now printer is printing P1 and CPU is busy with P2. What is the process 2? For example, read the information from file. Read the information from a file. Sorry, what is the process to read the information from a file? And in your C programming, you use the command like read. So whenever this particular line encounters, and for example, this is your program process 2 main, and in the lines you have a function called read. So whenever it appears, automatically what will you do? So you need to read the information from a file. Where the file is available? The file is available in the disk. What a disk is? Disk is a secondary memory. Right? So whenever there is a read operation, so automatically read means read operation will comes under IO operation. IO operation means input output operation. Where we need to get the input, వీ నీడ్ టు గెట్ ఇన్పుట్ ఫ్రమ్ ద ఫైల్. అంటే మీరు ఫైల్లో నుంచి ఇప్పుడు ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ రీడ్ చేయాలి. ఫైల్ ఎక్కడ ఉంది? డిస్క్లో ఉంది. సో డిస్క్లో నుంచి డేటాని రీడ్ చేయడానికి సిపియు అవసరం లేదు కదా, రైట్? అప్పుడు మళ్ళీ సిపియు ఐడియల్గా ఉంటుంది ఆ టైంలో. డిస్క్లోంచి డేటా రీడ్ చేసే టైంలో సిపియు మళ్ళీ ఐడియల్గా ఉంటుంది. ఇన్ ఆర్డర్ టు అవాయిడ్ దట్ ప్రాబ్లమ్, సో అగైన్ వాట్ వీ విల్ డూ, we can keep process 3 into the main memory so that CPU is now allocated to P3. Okay now, so I will explain you with a new fresh slide, right? What is the job 1? Process 1. What is job 1? You need to run P1 and you need to take the printout. That is your first task. And second program. What is your second program? Reading information from file. Reading information from file. And it is your program 3. So program 3 is prime.c program, for example. This is a reverse.c program, for example, where these three processes are available. All these three are initially available in the secondary memory. This is P1, P2, P3, P4, and then P5. Like all the programs in your system are available in the secondary memory. From those 5 programs, what you need to run? P1, P2, P3. All these 3 programs you want to run. So whenever you want to run all these programs, you need to keep the programs into the main memory. So why? Because you want to run P1, P2, P3. So from these 5, you need to move only 3 programs into the main memory. Why? Because now you want to run these 3 programs. Okay. Initially, the CPU is, the operating system is allocated process 1 to CPU. So CPU is busy with executing P1. That means it will run the P1. So after running the P1, so in order to complete this particular task, in order to complete process 1, what you need to do? You need to take the printout, right? So in order to take the printout, this particular job will be assigned to printer. So while taking the printout, after getting the result, then there is no need of CPU, right? So at that time, CPU will become idle. So in order to avoid this idleness, what we will do? Already in the main memory, we have one more process, that is P2. So CPU is assigned to execute P2. Okay now, so while the CPU is executing the P2, for example, what is a P2 program? These are the statements. CPU is executing the statements one by one. So suddenly there is a read request. So suddenly there is a read request in the program. So read means IO operation. So where we need to read? We need to read from the file. Where the file is available? The file is available in the disk. What a disk is? Disk is a secondary memory. That means we need to read the information from a file which is available in the disk. Okay. సో డిస్క్లో నుంచి మనం రీడ్ చేసేటప్పుడు ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ని మనకి సిపియు నీడ్ ఏం లేదుగా, సిపియు నీడ్ లేదు. సిపియు అప్పుడు మళ్ళీ ఐడియల్గా ఉంటుంది అనమాట. వెన్ వీఆర్ రీడింగ్ ద ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ ఫ్రమ్ ఏ డిస్క్, ద సిపియు విల్ బికమ్ ఐడియల్ అగైన్. ఓకే. సో దట్ ఈస్ ద రీజన్ వై అగైన్ వీ నీడ్ టు మూవ్ టు ద P3. దట్ మీన్స్ సిపియు ఈజ్ నౌ allocated to P3 for running prime.c. Prime.c is our third program, for example. So CPU is running P3 now, right? Once CPU is busy with the P3, suddenly the read operation completed. That read disk operation, and whatever the information we need to read from a file is over. Again, we will switch the CPU from P3 to P2, P3 to P2 to complete the remaining portion of P2. Okay na? That means initially CPU is allocated to P1. So now P1 is busy with the printer. So CPU is switched from P1 to P2. Once In the P2, we need to read the information from disk file, that is. Okay, so that is the reason why we need to switch the CPU from P2 to P3. After the disk operation, again P3 is switched back to P2 in order to complete the remaining program. Here the remaining program is there. Likewise, CPU is switched from P1 to P2 and P2 to P3, again P3 to P2, like that. CPU is always busy. CPU is always busy because we have multiple number of programs into the main memory. We have multiple number of programs in the main memory. Sorry. Is it clear to everyone? Is it
Yes,
clear?
ma'am.
You need to keep one thing in your brain. What the thing is, in the case of single user operating system, there is only one partition. The entire main memory is divided into two partitions. One is for operating system and another is for user. In that partition, only one process at a time is available. If P1 execution completes everything, running the C programming and printing everything, if it is over, it will be out from the main memory and the next program will be kept into the main memory. Only one process is available in the main memory. Okay, so at that particular moment of time, while taking the printout, CPU is waiting, right? Idle. So in order to avoid this problem, we'll go for the second type of operating system, that is multi-programming. In the case of multi-programming, what we will do? Here also we are dividing the main memory into two parts, operating system and the remaining portion is for user area. Right? So, but here we are dividing the main memory into blocks so that we can keep multiple number of process into the main memory, not a single process. So, if P1 is busy with the printer, first CPU, we need to allocate P1. If the process 1 is busy with the printer, CPU is allocated to P2. If P2 is busy with the disk, then CPU is allocated to P3. Like that fashion, we are switching the CPU from P1 to P2 and P2 to P3. Again from P3 to P1. So P2. Like that, we are switching the CPU. That is called as CPU switching. Right? Is it clear for you all? Is it clear for you all? So that CPU have
Yes, ma'am.
number of programs to run. So that is the reason why with the help of multi-programming, we can keep the CPU busy. So that always CPU have one process to run. So that the system performance will be increased. Got it? Do you have any doubts till now?
No, ma'am.
Can I move to the next
No,
type?
ma'am.
Can I move
Yes,
to the next
ma'am.
type? Okay. So what is the next type? I already told you, parallel system. Parallel system. What is a parallel system? What is a parallel system? Tell me, what is parallel system?
Executing many number of process in parallel.
In parallel, okay. With the help of single process or multiple number of processors?
Multiple number of processors.
Right. Multiple number of processors. How many number of processors are available? There are multiple number of processors. That means CPU1, CPU2. What is the advantage? What is the advantage of running multiple number of processes at the same time?
Less time consumption.
That means we can complete multiple number of tasks parallelly so that throughput will be more, so that the system performance will be the more. That is the first advantage. What is the next second advantage? Now the third variety of operating system, parallel system. Tell me what are the other advantages? So I already told you yesterday. So in the case of parallel system, we have multiple number of processors. Processor 1, processor 2, Swan, processor N. Right? Processor means CPU. There are multiple number of processors, but there is only one main memory. That is what you need to understand. The processor means nothing but a CPU. CPU 1, CPU 2, Swan, CPU N. So all these processors are sharing the same main memory. There is only one main memory, multiple number of processors, right? Why it is called as parallel system? Why? Because all these processors are running parallelly. That means at the same time, job 1 is assigned to CPU 1, job 2 is assigned to CPU 2. At the same time, we can assign job N to CPU N. So job 1, job 2, job N. All the things are running at the same time, so that we can complete the task in a faster manner. Okay, very fast. That means usually we need to call it as a throughput. Throughput means number of tasks executed per second or executed per unit time is called a throughput. It need to be more. Whenever the throughput is more, automatically system performance will be more. So I will give you a simple example so that you can understand. This is end 1 and this is end 2. Okay. Here there is a 10 kg of sugar, 10 kg of sugar, 10 kg of sugar. There is only one person available. Okay. Each time a person can carry 10 kg of sugar and he can take to this end to this end. In order to take the sugar from this end to this end, it took 1 minute of time, for example. So again he need to come back from here to here. Again he need to take the second 10 kg of sugar and he need to come back from this end to this end, and again she need to take the 10 kg of sugar from this end to this end. So it took how many minutes? Again 1 minute,
6 minutes.
3 minutes, right? Okay, this is called as sequential execution, and one after the other, right? What is a parallel execution? Parallel execution means here we have, see here, this is end 1 and this is end 2. So there are 3 persons now, P1, P2, P3. Each can carry 10 kg of sugar, as I told you earlier. So all 3 persons can start at the same time and they will carry the sugar from here, this end to this end. So how much time it will take to carry total 30 kg of sugar from this end to this end?
1 minute.
1 minute. Why? Because all will take 10 kgs, 10 kgs, 10 kgs and start from this end and move to this end in a minute of time. So the job is over within a minute. But here in this particular example, we have only one person, P1, P1, P1. There is only one person. The single person is carrying the 10 kgs of sugar from this end to this end. Once after completing the first 10 kgs carrying, he will move to the second phase and he will move to the third phase. Like that, it takes 3 minutes of time to transfer 30 kgs of sugar from this end to this end. Okay, so sequential execution take much time to transfer, but whereas a parallel execution takes less time, that is only 1 minute. So likewise, we have multiple number of processors, processor 1, processor 2, so on, processor n. So all the CPUs running the jobs at the same time, so that we can complete all the tasks with less time. So running parallelly, so that very fast. That is the first advantage. So what is the second advantage? For example, processor 2 is failed. Whenever the processor 2 is failed, the work of processor 2 will be taken care by processor 3 maybe, or it may be taken care by the processor 1. Okay, that means failure of one process cannot disturb the work of other processors. Even processor 2 is failed to work, processor 1 will work fine, and processor 3 will work in a fine manner, and processor n also working in a fine manner. So one processor failure will not disturb the entire system. That is called as fault tolerance. One processor fail, all the remaining processors will work. There is no problem with the system. And third one is load balancing. Load balancing means how many jobs we have to done? Job 1, job 2, so on, job n. We have multiple number of jobs. All the jobs are equally distributed to all the processors. That is called as load balancing. Fault tolerance means if one processor fail, the job of this processor will be assigned to some other processor, maybe a CPU 2 or CPU 3. Is it clear for you all?
Yes, ma'am.
And next, there are two types in this particular variety. The first one is asymmetric multiprocessor. This is second variety, and the first variety is symmetric multiprocessor. If you observe this particular word multiprocessor means, as the name indicates, multiple processors. That means multiple CPUs are available, right? What is symmetric? Symmetric means same. That means all the CPU 1, CPU 2, so on, CPU n. Right? So all are having same capabilities, equally capable. Okay? So all the CPUs are having the same capabilities, then it is called as symmetric multiprocessor, the first variety. Okay? So what is asymmetric multiprocessor? Asymmetric multiprocessor means CPU 1, CPU 2, and so on, CPU n. All are connected to the same shared memory. But here the first one processor is act as a master, and all the remaining CPUs are act as a slaves. That means the master will give the command. All the remaining processors need to follow the commands given by the master. The best example for is server and client. The server will decide and the client has to be done the work. Is it clear for you all?
Yes, ma'am.
Will give the commands, the slaves need to do the job. But here in the case of symmetric multiprocessor, all the CPUs are having the same capabilities, and all are equal. There is no master slave or server client mechanism, right? Is it clear for you all?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I move to the next type of operating system?
Yes, ma'am.
And next, one more thing you need to understand here is this is called as tightly coupled operating system. Why it is called as tightly coupled means all the CPUs are sharing the same memory and the system clock. That means they are, for every processor, the clock is same, the memory is same. So that is the reason why they are tightly coupled. So it is very good question for your gate as well as your any entrance examinations. Even for the interview also, they might ask you the question, what is tightly coupled and what is loosely coupled. Tightly coupled means all processors running in a machine will share memory and clock. So then it is called as tightly coupled. And the second variety is loosely coupled. What is loosely coupled? All processors, all of you can mute yourself. It will create a disturbance to others. All processors running in a machine will have their own memory. Give me one second of time. Sorry. Loosely coupled means all processors running in a machine will have their own memory, right? Here in the case of tightly coupled, all the processes running in a machine will share a common memory and a clock. Here every processor, every computer has their own memory. So that is the difference between loosely coupled and tightly coupled. Is it clear for you all? Is it clear for you all?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? And next point is, what are the best example for the loosely coupled? Another variety of operating system is distributed system. So what is distributed system? So distributed system is loosely coupled system. Loosely coupled system means for every processor, it has a local memory. For every CPU, it has a memory. CPU 1 has its own memory and CPU 2 has its own memory, and CPU 3 has its own local memory, right? Swan CPU n has its own local memory. That means each and every process has their own memory. But in the case of parallel system, CPU1, CPU2, swan CPU-n, all are sharing the same memory. They are connected to the single memory. But whereas in the case of loosely coupled, each and every processor has its own local memory. Okay? These processors can communicate with each other. Processors can communicate with each other. That is the point you need to understand. All can communicate with each other. Communication is possible, but only thing is they have own memory. They have their own memory. Is there any doubt so far?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Can I move to the next variety?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? And the next variety is a desktop system. So desktop system is nothing but a personal computer. Our personal computer is the best example for desktop system. What is a desktop system? What is personal computer? Personal computer means dedicated to single user. And only one person. Usually our computer is used by us only, right? So dedicated to the single user, and it has its IO devices and a keyboard, mouse. And next small printer. So we have our own keyboard, our printer, mouse, our system is connected to the printer, right? So that is a thing. So usually personal computers have more convenience to use. More convenience to use. Right? That is the thing. So usually our personal computers are best example for the desktop systems. Right? We can run multiple number of operating systems. That means in our computer we can load operating system, Windows operating system. We can even load Unix operating system, right? In our only one computer, we can install Windows operating system as well as Unix operating system. Different operating systems are supported by the personal computer. Even in my laptop also have Windows as well as Unix operating system, Linux. Have you got my point? Can I move to the next slide? So far, you have any doubts? So far, do you have any doubts?
No, ma'am.
And the next
No,
variety,
ma'am.
handheld system. Right? So what is a handheld system? Personal digital assistance. Personal digital assistance, shortly we can call it as PDA, and your mobile devices. So what is the difference between desktop systems, that is personal computers, and these things? So the difference is small screen, right? In mobile phone is having small screen when compared to your desktop, right? Small screen and the limited memory and slow processor, right? Your mobile processor is much slower than your computer, right? Small display screen, all those things. So handheld systems are personal digital assistants, mobile devices. So these things are tablets, all are called, comes under handheld systems. These are also dedicated to single user. but these are the limitations. These are the limitations. Small screen, limited memory, slow processor. Right? On the next variety, real-time systems. So under the real-time systems, we have two varieties of real-time system. One is hard and the next one is a soft. Hard real-time system and soft real-time system. Here you need to understand the word time. It is very important. It is a clue for this topic. So these type of systems are used in a scientific applications. Scientific applications. Okay, scientific applications means controlling the applications. For example, rocket launch at that time, even microseconds, nanoseconds are very important. Until these real-time applications are best suited for the time critical applications. Where the on-time execution is very much important, right? Rigid time applications. For those applications, we go for the real-time systems, where the execution of that particular instruction on time is very important, very crucial. For that type of scenarios, we usually use real-time systems. So where the running the instructions on time is very much important. At that time, we go for the odd real-time systems, where there is a little time changes and a very little time changes acceptable. For those type of applications, we go for the soft real time. Is it clear for you all?
Yes, ma'am.
So one more interesting point about hard real time system is, in this type of system, there is no secondary memory. Secondary memory is absent. So why? Because as they are time critical applications, everything will be done in a faster manner. So there is a secondary memory. Again, we need to load the application from secondary memory to main memory. Again, from main memory, we need to assign to the CPU. So it will be time-based procedure. That is the reason why in the hard real-time systems, secondary memory is absent or limited. If there is a secondary memory, it is very less limited memory. It is less, usually absent. That is the thing.
Ma'am, if it is absent, then where we can store those all the programs and everything?
Data stored in the short-term memory. There is a short-term memory called ROM. The main memory is divided into two types. One is a RAM and the second one is ROM. RAM means main memory, where the operating system and all the user programs are available. That is called as RAM. There is one more main memory that is called as ROM. ROM means read-only memory. So I already told you booting program, na booting. What is booting?
First program executed by computer, CPU.
First program executed by the computer. What is the responsibility of a booter? It need to be
To
loaded
load OS into
Load the OS from secondary
main
memory to main memory.
secondary memory to main memory. Okay. So if this booting program need to be available all the time in a computer, right? That too, it need to be available in the main memory. So I will explain in 1 second. So for example, operating system is need to be loaded from your hard disk to main memory, right? So who will be responsible for loading operating system from your secondary memory to main memory? The booting program.
Program.
So the booting program need to be available all the time. Need to be available to the CPU all the time. Available to CPU. Okay, CPU can access only the main memory. It cannot access the secondary memory, right? So that is the reason why we need to keep the booting program into the main memory. Main memory is a permanent memory or temporary memory?
Temporary memory.
Temporary memory, right? So main memory మనం ఏం స్టోర్ చేసినా కానీ అవి కంప్యూటర్ టర్న్ ఆన్ అయిన ఉన్నప్పుడు మాత్రమే, అంటే కంప్యూటర్ పవర్ ఉన్నప్పుడు మాత్రమే మెయిన్ మెమరీలో డేటా అనేది అవైలబుల్ గా ఉంటుంది. సో మనము ఈ బూటింగ్ ప్రోగ్రామ్ ని కూడా తీసుకెళ్లి మెయిన్ మెమరీలో ప్లేస్ చేసామనుకోండి, సో మెయిన్ మెమరీలో ర్యామ్ లోనే కనుక మనం ఈ బూటింగ్ ప్రోగ్రామ్ ని కూడా ప్లేస్ చేసామనుకోండి, అప్పుడు ఏమవుతుంది, పవర్ లేనప్పుడు ఆ ప్రోగ్రామ్ ఎరైజ్ అయిపోతుంది కదా. ఆ ప్రోగ్రామ్ ఎరైజ్ అయిపోతే ఆపరేటింగ్ సిస్టమ్ ని సెకండరీ మెమరీ నుంచి మెయిన్ మెమరీకి లోడ్ చేసే వాళ్ళు ఎవరు ఉండరు. అంటే మనం ఏం చేయాలి, మెయిన్ మెమరీ మనకి 2 టైప్స్ ఉండాలి. ఒకటేమో ర్యాండమ్ యాక్సెస్ మెమరీ, ఇంకోటేమో రీడ్ ఓన్లీ మెమరీ. ఈ రీడ్ ఓన్లీ మెమరీలో మనం ఈ బూటింగ్ ప్రోగ్రామ్ ని ప్లేస్ చేస్తాం అనమాట. ఈ రీడ్ ఓన్లీ మెమరీ అనేది ఏంటి, పర్మనెంట్ మెమరీ అన్నమాట. ఇట్ ఈస్ వెరీ స్మాల్ ఇన్ సైజ్. ఈ రీడ్ ఓన్లీ మెమరీలో మనం తీసుకొచ్చేసి ఆ బూటింగ్ ప్రోగ్రామ్ ని ప్లేస్ చేస్తాం. సో ఇది పర్మనెంట్ మెమరీ కదా, పర్మనెంట్ మెయిన్ మెమరీ ఇది. ఓకే, సో ఇంకొక టైప్ ఆఫ్ మెమరీ ఏమో మన మెయిన్ మెమరీ, దీంట్లో ఓఎస్ లోడ్ అవుతుంది సెకండరీ మెమరీ నుంచి. సో ఎప్పుడైతే మనం సిస్టమ్ ఆన్ చేస్తామో, ద బూటింగ్ ప్రోగ్రామ్ విచ్ ఈస్ అవైలబుల్ ఇన్ ద రీడ్ ఓన్లీ మెమరీ విల్ టేక్ కేర్ ఆఫ్ లోడింగ్ ద ఆపరేటింగ్ సిస్టమ్ ఫ్రమ్ సెకండరీ మెమరీ టు మెయిన్ మెమరీ. గాట్ ఇట్?
Yes, ma'am.
ఓకేనా. మనకు కనుక ఇలా ర్యాము రాము రెండు లేవనుకోండి, అప్పుడు ఏమవుతుంది, ర్యామ్ మెమరీ అనేది టెంపరీ మెమరీ కదా, పవర్ ఉన్నప్పుడు మాత్రమే దానిలో డేటా ఉంటుంది. ఎప్పుడైతే మనం టర్న్ ఆఫ్ చేస్తామో కంప్యూటర్ని, ఆటోమేటిక్గా ర్యామ్లో ఉన్న డేటా మొత్తం ఎరైజ్ అయిపోతుంది. అప్పుడు ఈ బూటింగ్ ప్రోగ్రామ్ కూడా ఎరైజ్ అయిపోతుంది. బూటింగ్ ప్రోగ్రామ్ ఎరైజ్ అయిపోయింది అనుకోండి, అప్పుడు ఏం జరుగుతుంది, నెక్స్ట్ టైం మళ్ళీ మీరు టర్న్ ఆన్ చేస్తారు కదా మిషన్ని, అప్పుడు ఆపరేటింగ్ సిస్టమ్ని సెకండరీ మెమరీ నుంచి మెయిన్ మెమరీకి లోడ్ చేయడానికి కావాల్సిన బూటింగ్ ప్రోగ్రామ్ కూడా ఎరైజ్ అయిపోతుంది. అప్పుడు ఎవరు లోడ్ చేస్తారు, ఆపరేటింగ్ సిస్టమ్ మెయిన్ మెమరీలో లోడ్ అవ్వలేదు అనుకోండి, సిస్టమ్ని మనం యూజ్ చేయలేము. బికాస్ ఆఫ్ దట్ పర్పస్ మనకి రామ్ అని ఇంకొక మెమరీ ఉంటుంది. ఆ మెమరీ లోపల మనం బూటింగ్ ప్రోగ్రామ్ని ప్లేస్ చేస్తాం అన్నమాట, స్టోర్ చేస్తాం. ఓకే, why it is called as read only memory? We cannot write, we cannot change the instructions of booting program. So అందుకని దాన్ని read only memory అంటాం. Is it clear for you all?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
సో ఆపరేటింగ్ సిస్టమ్ వచ్చినా రాకపోయినా, మీకు ఎన్ని మార్క్స్ వచ్చినా రాకపోయినా, all these things you need to know as a computer science student. సో at the end of the session, కృష్ణయ్య సార్ కానీ రిమైనింగ్ వాళ్ళు కానీ ఎవరైనా మిమ్మల్ని బూటింగ్ అంటే ఏంటి, సో మెయిన్లో ర్యామ్ అంటే ఏంటి, రామ్ అంటే ఏంటి, ఆర్ ఎనీ అదర్ ఇంటర్వ్యూయర్ మైట్ ఆస్క్ యూ క్వశ్చన్, రైట్? అప్పుడు యూ నీడ్ టు బీ ఇన్ ఎ పొజిషన్ టు ఆన్సర్ ద క్వశ్చన్. యూ మే గెట్ ఎ 60 mark or 40 mark or 100 marks. All cannot write well in examination, right? So but after listening my class, so as my student, you need to answer all these questions, right? So I will answer your question even for 100 times. మీరు 100 సార్లు నన్ను క్వశ్చన్ అడిగినా కానీ ఐ విల్ రెడీ టు ఆన్సర్ యువర్ 100 క్వశ్చన్స్. సేమ్ క్వశ్చన్ మీకు అర్థం కాకపోయినా యూ కెన్ ఆస్క్ మీ 100 times. I will give you answers until you are comfortable for that particular topic. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
You no need to worry about your mid examinations and your syllabus coverage, everything. If you are comfortable with operating system syllabus, then automatically we can go in a faster manner, right? All these are the basic information you need to understand. Okay. So coming to our topic, real-time systems. So under the real-time systems, we have hard real-time system, and the next one is a soft real-time system. And first of all, what is a real-time system? So real-time system is best suited for time critical applications. Time critical applications. Time critical applications means where there is a time constraints. There is a time constraint. What are the examples for the time constraint applications? Scientific applications. All the scientific applications need to be run on time. There should be no delay. There should be no prior execution and there should be no delay. అంటే ఫాస్ట్ గా రన్ అవ్వద్దు, ఎర్లీగా రన్ అవ్వద్దు, ఆన్ టైం రన్ అవ్వాలి. అలాంటి అప్లికేషన్స్ కి మనకి రియల్ టైమ్ సిస్టమ్స్ అనేవి హెల్ప్ అవుతాయి. సో హార్డ్ రియల్ టైమ్ సిస్టమ్స్ అంటే ఎగ్జాక్ట్లీ ఆన్ టైం, నీడ్ టు బి run exactly on time. There should not any deviation of time, right? Should not allow any deviation of time. Okay. Whereas soft real time system ante it supports a little deviation, not that much complicated. Okay. That is called as soft real time system. Generally, medical imaging, and next industrial control systems, okay. So machinery controls, all those things need to be done on time, right? So medical imaging and industrial control system, your scientific applications. So all these applications we require real time systems. So usually in the hard real time system, the secondary memory is limited or absent. So we need to depend on ROM in that case. So because of that reason, so all these are very costly. Is it clear to you all?
Yes, madam.
Okay. So far we have completed single user, multi-programming, the next one parallel system, and the next one distributed system, the fifth one desktop system, sixth one handheld system, and the seventh one real-time system. Under the real-time we have two types, hard and soft, right? So far we covered these topics. So single user means operating system, sorry. Single operating system is, the operating system is divided into only two parts. One is for OS and the second part is the user area. Only we can keep one process. So దానివల్ల disadvantage ఏంటి? CPU will become idle. In order to avoid that problem, we will go to the multi-program. What is multi-programming? The main memory is divided into two partitions. One is for operating system and the remaining is for user area. The entire user area divide into blocks so that we can keep multiple programs into main memory. Keep multiple programs. అప్పుడు దానివల్ల అడ్వాంటేజ్ ఏమవుతుంది, సిపియు అనేది ఐడియల్గా ఉండదు. అంటే సిపియు ఎలా ఉంటుంది, ఆల్ ద టైమ్ బిజీగా ఉంటుంది అనమాట. ఓకే, అండ్ ద నెక్స్ట్ వన్ ప్యారలల్ సిస్టమ్స్. ప్యారలల్ సిస్టమ్స్ అంటే ఏంటి, there are multiple processors but all the processors are connected to the only
single main memory,
one memory, right? The coming to distributed systems. Distributed system is here also we have multiple CPUs but each and every one has its own local memory. Local memory. Local memory, right? So all they are connected, right? If you observe here, that means they communicate with each other. But each and every individual have its own memory. So here all the CPUs are sharing the same memory and clock. That is the reason why parallel systems are also called as
tightly coupled system.
And next, distributed systems are best example for loosely
coupled system.
This is very, very important question. Tightly coupled means all the processors sharing same memory and they are synchronized to the system clock. Whereas in the case of loosely coupled, all the systems are having their own memory. That is the difference between these two. And next, one more point you need to understand. Coming to parallel systems, they are divided into two types: symmetric multiprocessor. Second one, asymmetric multiprocessor. Symmetric multiprocessor means all the processors are equal capable. Asymmetric means master slave. And next, coming to desktop system, personal computer dedicated to single user. That means our personal computer. And next, handheld system means personal digital assistants, and then your mobile phones, tablets, etc. Right? So what are the limitations of handheld systems? Limited memory, small screen, and next slow processors. So coming to real-time systems, we have two types: hard real-time system, soft real-time system. Where we have a time critical applications, then we go for the hard real-time systems. Okay, there is a little deviation for the time, there will be no problem. Such type of applications we go for the soft real-time system. Okay. And next, one more thing you need to understand, that is called as multitasking. Right? So this is another variety of operating system. What is multitasking? In the case of multitasking also, multiple tasks. Here previously we already talked about multi-programming. In the case of multi-programming as well as in the case of multitasking, the main memory is divided into two parts. One is for operating system and the remaining is for user area. But what the difference between multitasking and multi-programming is, here also we have multiple programs in the main memory, so that both multitasking as well as multi-programming, both can keep CPU busy. But the difference is, in the case of multi-programming, while running a program, the user cannot give inputs. User cannot give input to the program while running. That means multi-programming does not support user interaction. Whereas in the case of multitasking, while the CPU executing P1, the user can interact with the process. That means user can give input or user can interact. User can interact. That means from a keyboard, we can give input to the process. But whereas in the case of multi-programming, user cannot give information to the process. I will give you an example. For example, there is a program, P1. That program requires user interaction. That means enter a value. అన్నప్పుడు మీరు ఎంటర్ చేయాలి కీబోర్డ్ నుంచి. అలాగే ఎంటర్ బి వాల్యూ. అప్పుడు మళ్ళీ మీరు బి వాల్యూ ఇవ్వాలి. అప్పుడు సి ఈక్వల్ టు ఏ ప్లస్ బి ఆపరేషన్ జరుగుతుంది. మనం సిని ప్రింట్ చేద్దాం. అది మీ ప్రోగ్రామ్. ఇంటి ఏ కామా బి తర్వాత ఎంటర్ ఏ అంటది, ఎంటర్ బి అంటది. అప్పుడు మీరు వాల్యూస్ ఇవ్వాలి. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ అది మన ప్రోగ్రామ్ అనుకుందాం. సో సచ్ టైప్ ఆఫ్ ప్రోగ్రామ్స్ require user interaction. Why? Because whenever it asks you to enter a value, you need to enter a value 10 from the keyboard, right? Again enter b value means we need to give the b value 10, 20 by using keyboard, right? That means in order to execute this program, we require user interaction. Such a type of user interaction is not allowed in case of multi-programming. Whereas in the case of multitasking, while running the program, or while executing the program, user can give input to the program. Is it clear? Is it clear? Is it clear? Anyone please respond?
Yes, madam.
So I think it is your lunch break time. So I will wind up within 1 minute. Just a second. Here the thing is, in the case of multitasking, as the name indicates, the main memory is divided into two parts. One is operating system, and the remaining we have P1, P2, P3. So whenever you assign a job to CPU, CPU will execute that job. For example, here we are assigning P1 to CPU. So while running CPU, user need to give some input for complete the execution of P1. So whenever you give the input to P1, so we need to give the information from keyboard, right? How can we type the information with the help of keyboard? Keyboard is very slow. CPU is very fast. In order to avoid this time gap, even while you whenever it asks you enter value for A, right? At that time, you need to give value 10 from the keyboard. In the fraction of that little bit of time also, the CPU is switched from P1 to P2. Are you got my point? Even that fraction of time also, it is very much important to CPU. That means CPU is switching from P1 to P2 even when you enter the information to that particular program. That little bit of time also not waste in the case of multitasking, right? That is the reason why the difference between multitasking and multi-programming is, in the case of multitasking, user interaction allowed. Here not allowed. Here CPU switching done very frequently. వెరీ ఫ్రీక్వెంట్లీ మీన్స్ సిపి స్విచ్చింగ్ అనేది చాలా ఫాస్ట్ జరుగుతుంది. P1 నుంచి P2 కి, P2 నుంచి P3 కి, అండ్ నెక్స్ట్ P3 నుంచి P2 కి, P2 నుంచి P1 కి, లైక్ దట్ చాలా ఫ్రీక్వెంట్ గా జరుగుతుంది అనమాట సిపి స్విచ్చింగ్ అనేది, మల్టీ టాస్కింగ్. ఎందుకంటే మీరు 10 అని టైప్ చేసే టైంలో కూడా సిపి స్విచ్ అయిపోతుంది. ఆ కొంచెం టైంలో కూడా సిపియు టైం అనేది ఐడియల్ గా ఉండదు. బట్ వెరాస్ ఇన్ ద కేస్ ఆఫ్ మల్టీ ప్రోగ్రామింగ్, వెన్ కంపేర్ టు మల్టీ టాస్కింగ్, సిపియు స్విచ్చింగ్ అనేది స్లోగా ఉంటుంది అన్నమాట. ఇక్కడ వెరీ ఫ్రీక్వెంట్ గా ఉంటుంది. దోస్ ఆర్ ద మేజర్ డిఫరెన్సెస్ బిట్వీన్ మల్టీ టాస్కింగ్ అండ్ మల్టీ ప్రోగ్రామింగ్. గాట్ ఇట్? ఓకే, can I
Okay, ma'am.
Bye, madam.
bye? If you have any doubts, you can make a call or you can send a message to me. Okay, you can inform via one of your faculty. Thank you.